So, guys, meanwhile, let me take the opportunity to introduce our guest for today. So, today we have with us Manu Rishi Gupta, sir, founder and CEO at MRG Capital, a SEBI-registered PMS provider. So, sir has got over 30 plus years of experience in equity market, and he founded his first fund when he was bare 16 years old. As far as education is concerned, son did his bachelor's in commerce from Delhi University. He's an MBA from Warwick Business School with specializations in corporate finance, investment banking, risk management, and corporate strategy, and more than 28 plus years of senior management experience spanning across industries of the likes of tourism, shipbuilding, and private equity. He's a passionate blogger and a golfer, and he actively contributes to various verbal and written forms, be it his Twitter and various, and those who are I mean, hearing about sir for the first time, I will sincerely ask them to listen to the conversation face to face with Vivek Bajaj. So that's a great session you should all go through. And there are so many, behavioral aspect, I must say, you'll learn from that conversation, and that is going to add greatly to your investment framework. A very warm welcome, sir. And to start with, I would request you to apprise us like how it started for you. Was there any family legacy, or you were the first person to start in the financial market? And in the last 30 years, how had been your experience and evolution in the financial markets?
Thank you, Prince. Thank you very, very much. Very kind of you to ask me to be a part of this thing. I saw a couple of your other videos because I thought I should not embarrass myself and be prepared for this little talk that we are having. And I think you're doing a great work, and you've had some very, very influential people on your podcast and on your spaces. But thank you, Prince. Thank you very much. Well, guys, I'm a very, very simple middle class fellow, and I started when I was about 15 years old because we as young kids we never had enough pocket money, and my father had 100 shares of Indo Gulf Fertilizers. It used to be a Aditya Birla company, and it was listed at that point of time. So I got that first share certificate of 100 shares of Indo Gulf Fertilizers with a I don't I'm not even sure whether most of you are aware that physical share certificate used to come with a very long legal sized transfer paper which had all the notations of all the people who've owned that certificate before. So I got that green little paper and a share certificate of 100 shares of Gulf Fertilizers when I was 14 or 15. And and that's how I tried to learn about stock markets, and started my journey, only to see Harshad Mehta's picture with his 40 cars. And I said, oh my God, there is something in this country that a guy can become the largest and the single largest taxpayer in the country, and own 40 cars, whose at that point of time Ambanis and all were not that prominent, who's bigger than the Tatas and the Birlas and the Srirams, the DCM group. These used to be the top three groups in very early 90s, and of course Reliance was coming up. And I think that's how I started my journey. That's how it all started. And when I joined my college, we were able to convince a few of our teachers, friends, their families, and our principal to contribute something to our fund, and we collected nearly about 3 lakh rupees. And that was the so-called kick movement in our life, where we started investing in the stock markets, learned a lot along the way, and I would say we were terribly lucky that we could double people's money in about 2.5 years. So yes, that's how the journey started, pretty much as a kid. And and I can tell you very, very easily that, and very confidently, that this entire journey you had to have a degree and a bit of luck in the very initial years, because a small misstep can actually wipe you out and take you out of the market. So yeah, God was with us. And as they say that you're born with your destinies, that even though for a large part of my life, I worked for a lot of other industries, but my passion to manage wealth for my friends, family, and anybody who was close to me, that converted into a profession. And now we have a reasonably well performing PMS and small cases and a couple of other products that we are involved in. And yeah, God's been very kind. And yeah, I think good karma has been a great catalyst in my life to allow me to say that I have tried to do the right thing in the right way, in the right manner at the right time. And good karma has helped me shape the person that I am. At least that's what I believe. So that's my journey into the stock market. Prince, over to you.
Yes, sir. So I mean, initially when we start, so basically we do a lot of mistakes, and normally the market luck being considered as our skills, right? So you must have experienced that also, and 30 years is a very long time. So how had been your like initial years in the sense of making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, and coming to a point where you can condition your behavior so that the market volatility and different events doesn't bother you much and you stick to the process.
Prince, I think one of the biggest problems in this entire investment journey, an investment in anything, investment in relationships, investment in assets, investment in depreciating assets, is all under underpinned and rooted in the concept called a FOMO. FOMO has become a very important part of our daily investment thing. You know, we all get FOMO'd. We all get FOMO'd when we want to enter into a new relationship. We all get FOMO'd when we want to acquire a stock because we watch CNBC and they say that a situation like that appears that if you do not buy a stock today, you might not get a chance to enter that position at all. You get FOMO'd when you see newspapers advertising mile long queues just to acquire DLF apartments in Delhi or any other place. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've done, and sometimes I indulge in those mistakes even now, I must confess, is not being able to control my FOMO. One thing that I've learned over and over and over again is whatever you want to buy, you will get enough opportunity to buy as long as you're not making a stupid mistake. So if you're sure that you must acquire an asset, or you are sure that you must acquire a relationship, or you're sure that you must acquire a car or anything, you would always get an opportunity maybe to get a better price, maybe to get a better model, maybe to get a better set of people that you want to spend your life with, your friendship with, your investment of time in a few relationships. So I think one of the biggest mistakes that most of us do is becoming a prisoner of the concept of FOMO. And I think when during the initial formative years, one of the FOMO things that I did was I used to apply for all the IPOs. And you know, there was a frenzy of IPOs between 92 to 98. Granite companies and all sorts of companies. And I still remember that I used to kind of drive on a bicycle from my college in Delhi and would go to Barakhamba Road where all the people would be there on the footpath selling forms. And even if you would use their form, you would get an instant 50 rupees back. Just to apply to a IPO, you would get a 50 rupees. And in my zeal to collect that 50 rupees, I would spend all day in the month of June not weathering the Delhi heat. And of course, you might end up collecting 300-400 rupees applying using those forms, but you would end up making a lot of stupid mistakes. So yeah, Tata Technologies notwithstanding, or amazing gains of IREDA, which are the recent memories. besides all of these things that we get FOMO'd, and uh, good companies coming out with their offerings, I think there's a lot and lot of crap that is being right now being floated out in the market, which might take a few quarters or a few years to pan out, but a lot of people will lose a lot of money because people are investing not following the most important tenets and fundamentals of investing. So yeah, FOMO is the biggest mistake that I've done in my past. Sometimes I do it now as well, and I think most of the investors get FOMO'd and make the most fundamentally questionable mistakes of their life.
We all agree to this, Manu sir. But what are the things one should like adhere to or maybe follow so as to like get out of this FOMO thing? And in today's era, when there is overload of information and the information has become a commodity, right? So in that case, like something or the other keeps on coming to you. So how to tackle those situations and filter out the noise? And I mean, so as to mine the relevant information to your advantage. So how you do it yourself, and what would be your advice to our audience to go about it?
I think that we guys are very, very small people in compared to some of the greatest investors on the planet. People who've written great books, people whom we quote all the time, the Warren Buffets and the Charlie Mungers of the world, the Peter Lynches of the world. And these guys have really contributed a lot in terms of leaving some invaluable, absolutely priceless lessons for the investment community. I think one of the things that we do is that we all read about them, we all profess about them, but but then we switch on the CNBC and end up buying Vodafone and Suzlon, right? So I think one of the things that we must continuously remind ourselves every morning is what are the stupid mistakes I can do with my wealth, with my family wealth, with the wealth that I'm working so hard for my children, that if tomorrow something goes dramatically wrong, and COVID has reminded us that things can go dramatically wrong. They might go wrong once in 100 years, but when they go wrong, none of us is prepared, and that's why they're called black swan events. And black swan event is a black swan because it definitely happens, but nobody can predict when it is likely to happen. So I think one of the things that of great service that investors can do to themselves is every morning they should just ask themselves, what are the stupid things that I can do today, and what stupid things can I avoid? Because human beings are naturally wired and naturally inclined to be very positive, to be very bullish all the time. And in that degree of hope, eternal hope, positivity and bullishness, we forget that we can end up making stupid mistakes. So wake up in the morning while brushing your teeth. We all get a morning time within ourselves, where while we are brushing our teeth, while we are shaving ourselves, while we are having a shower. I think one of the things that we must do is to ask ourselves, what are the mistakes that everyone makes and I must not make, and what are the blunders that can wipe me out or my family, my wipe me, my wealth, my family's wealth because of a stupid mistake. And I think these are very, very hyper simplified approaches to lead your life, to lead your day, and to generally define the rights and the wrongs of life.
Right. So let's focus on the process of framework which you use for your investment, starting from say idea generation. Do you run any screens, or are there any ways through which you get ideas? And once you get the ideas, how you go about doing due diligence on those ideas? And perhaps you form I mean, basically a watch list of those ideas, and finally end up investing in any names which maybe pass through all the criteria which you follow, right? So please walk us through that so that we also get a sense like how you go about doing this, and the important point which come out from that, surely our audience can make that a part of their process as well.
So, again, people have complicated the entire investment process too much. There is so much of information overload in the market, on the TV channels, on the Twitter, that we tend to get confused. And I think that if you read some of the top 4 5 books, and now, having read maybe hundreds of books, I realized that all of these books pretty much say and teach the same little very basic fundamentals of investing. And those fundamentals of investing have lasted over generations, over hundreds of years. So those are, free cash, quality of management, uh, uh, the moat, as Warren Buffett says, the moat around a business, and how easy is it to kind of uh, you know how easy is it for a company to get completely annihilated by competition, or whether the company has an ability to price its products, and what is the scale of the company. Now you see, let me take you back to maybe 35 years ago, when the ACC stock was $10,000. I don't know how many of the listeners even remember that time. 10,000 rupees was what ACC used to trade at, because Harshad Mehta said that, the replacement cost to be able to build something of the scale of ACC is not easy. And in those years, it was not easy. And of course, all of the other companies came much later. So I would say that stick to the top 10 15 ratios, and those ratios are known to everyone. The people have, just to complicate and just to sell products, just to kind of hoodwink the gullible investor, everyone or anybody who's teaching or professing or lecturing must sound hyper intelligent. On the contrary, if you confess that, investment is not a science, it is an art, you have to have the right attitude, stick to the very, very established principles and fundamentals of investing, the PEs of the world, the PBs of the world, the inventory rotation cycle, the bills receivable, the and once all of these ratios are set, figure out who's running the company, what is his lineage, what is his character. And whether you agree or not, and I've conducted like thousands of interviews in my life, and for the last 10 15 years, many interviews for C level positions. I can tell you that when a person walks into your room, you have generally made a decision in the first 10 seconds whether the person is good, bad, ugly, not in the visual sense, but what the true character of the person is. Similarly, when you see somebody visually, whether it is a CEO of a company, whether it's the promoter of a company on a TV channel, the face reveals everything. So I'm not saying that you should make your investment decision on the basis of face reading, not at all. बट आई थिंक इट्स वन ऑफ द ग्रेट कैटलिस्ट कि किसी भी इंसान में कितनी जेन्युइननेस है, अपनी इंटेंट को वो कैसे दर्शा रहा है पब्लिक के सामने. आप ह्यूमन माइंड इज अ वेरी वेरी सुपर इंटेलिजेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ अ सुपर कंप्यूटर, right? You are able to process a lot of data in nanoseconds, faster than the fastest computer on the planet. So when all the other parameters, which are mathematical, financial parameters, are met, figure out whether your money is safe, or whether because you're a shareholder, so you're an owner of the company, whether your company is safe in the hands of the guy who's coming on the TV channel and giving out a guidance. This guidance And commentary is again a hype, overhyped and overrated expression, because stocks बढ़ जाते हैं सिर्फ गाइडेंस और कमेंट्री पे, परफॉर्मेंस कोई नहीं पूछता, right? So I think that's these are the parameters. The other thing that I do when I invest for myself, for my family, for my clients is that I do not ever take the entire position in one go. If I think that I start liking a stock, I would first buy a very, very small quantity in my own personal portfolio, because I can take risk with my own money. Then I watch, then I start doing a Google alert on that company, every single piece of information. It's a few months process. What what the management is speaking, what the management is conveying to the public. Watch the result of the company for a few quarters. You see, Apple has been the greatest wealth creator, right, on the planet. But Warren Buffett entered Apple stock just a few years ago. Not even a few years ago. I think just I would say few years. I would say would be 4 5. I think much lesser than that. And today, 52% of the entire position stock holding of Berkshire Hathaway is Apple stock. So, can you say that Warren Buffett was too late in that journey to own the Apple stock? I would say no. He took his time. He did his due diligence. His due diligence took maybe years, because Apple's been in existence since 90s. And still, nobody could make as much money in Apple as Berkshire Hathaway did. So there is never an opportunity lost. Take your time to enter a stock, to identify a stock, to understand the behavior of the stock, to understand the price movement of a stock. And I think in that journey, ask yourself every day, would it be a stupid mistake to buy this stock if tomorrow a monkey ends up running this company? Because at some point in every listed company's life, a monkey will end up running your company. When a monkey runs a company, can he bring the company down to the ground? Because if a monkey runs a company and he can bring a company down to the ground, be rest assured that in the life cycle, if you are buy and hold forever the Warren Buffett style, if you are that kind of a investor, somebody will definitely bring the company down during the course of that of its life cycle. So the answer is, never be in a hurry. Do your due diligence. Stick to the most basic, non sexy sounding fundamentals of investing, which have lasted decades and decades, and which have lasted the test of time. And I don't think you can ever go wrong in investment. In fact, none of us needs any fund manager. I always tell my clients, everyone comes to me, asks me all the questions, what's your philosophy? I said, I don't have a philosophy. I am the most boring, simplest fund manager you would ever come across, because all I ask you is, do you even know what you really need out of the wealth that you're trying to create? Because the definition of wealth also for people is very, very different. For some people, wealth is just money. And I think wealth is everything but money. So I don't know whether, Prince, I've answered your question, or maybe I've digressed a bit, but I think a lot of investment and a lot of investment decision has to be rooted in some sort of a philosophical personality of an investor, philosophical personality of the movement, philosophical personality of the zeitgeist. That's how I look at my investment style, and that's how I the framework that I follow.
Fair point, sir, and especially the one like the more we simplify things, the better we are, and the definition of wealthing is well taken. Yeah. So, sir, as you always say, the expectations has to be right, but what we see, as you were discussing about the FOMO thing and the entry of most of the participant in the market on the pretext of like this is a place where you can create, I mean, an huge wealth, and that uh, I mean, brings more on the aspect of like unreasonable expectations. So how had been your experience when you started and you like conditioned your expectations to a reasonable level, or to say optimum expectation on the from the market? And how we can, I mean, those who are new entrants to market, they are not like aware or don't have that much experience how the market works, and haven't like sailed through these different cycles which market have, so how they can condition on the expectations fronts.
I was just reading an article today that I think in Spain or somewhere there was a Ponzi scheme that was returning 250% per annum. And some of the top footballers of the Spain football club, I mean, space the Spanish team. Spain is a very big team, right? Some of the top footballers also got drawn into the Ponzi scheme. I mean, look at it from this point of view, that the world over the last 300 years has grown at 4 or 5%. The average annualized growth of the planet has been 4 or 5%, actually 4.5%. Some of the countries, a country like ours, is growing at 6.5, 7%. And sometimes it grows at 6, sometimes it's 5. Sometimes we say that the data is questionable. I'm not questioning anything, but let's say 5 to 8%. America, if it grows at 3%, they are happy, 3 4%. But America has generally grown at 1 2% with a very benign inflation. Today, the entire Euro region is degrowing. Forget growing, it's actually degrowing, right? China is going through its own problems. Now, if you have all of this data available in public domain, what should be a reasonable expectation of growth of your wealth? Because a lot of people come to me and say that यार वो वाला म्यूचुअल फंड, अब मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहूंगा, वो तो 35% ग्रो कर रहे हैं. या अगर आप ये वाली यूलिप ले लें, और रिटायर्ड लोगों को टारगेट किया जाता है, यंग गलेबल लोगों को टारगेट किया जाता है कि आप यूलिप ले लीजिए, ये वाला इंश्योरेंस प्लान ले लीजिए, आपको ये भी करेगा, आपको मिनिमम 25% तो मिल जाएगा. अरे अगर दुनिया ही ग्रो कर रही है बिटवीन बिटवीन -4 to 6.5% or 7%, which is India's growth. Agar if and India's growth adjusted to inflation is much lesser, right? So अगर पूरी दुनिया ही सब 8% पे ग्रो कर रही है, which when the spectrum is -4 to 8, what should be a reasonable expectation? I mean, that answer everyone should try and answer for themselves. Because if you want to grow at 35 40%, then I don't think that's possible at all. It might be possible in a very short period of time, but a sustainable long growth, even over the period of 60 years, has been just a little over 20% for Warren Buffett. There have been only two stocks which have grown at a absolutely consistent relentless pace in even in American markets, and that is, of course, Apple is one stock. And Apple also went through its terrible times during the Steve Jobs crisis when he was fired, or the early 2000s. But obviously, when you see the upward graph over a very long period of time, the small COVID blip or the 2000 blip or the 2008 blips for good companies become negligible. But the only two companies are Apple and Monster Beverages. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, because we deal in American markets as well. Monster Beverages has beaten Apple by a huge distance. And I think other than that, I would say a reasonable, for a country like India, a consistent risk adjusted 16 to 18% growth is very good if you can maintain that. And when I say risk adjusted, means that if your portfolio can have a sharp ratio. I'm sure everyone's an investor and everyone understands. If the in Indian parlance, if you can have a sharp risk adjusted return which has a better Sharpe ratio than the market of about 16 to 18%, and you can maintain that, I think we are doing very, 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 very well. That's a very good rate of return. And of course, within your portfolio, you would have stocks like BSC or Infosys or some of the very, very reliable companies, which would give you a much larger, better return over a period of time. And I think that those are great stocks which will give you a little bit of an alpha over 16-18%. So to answer your question very, very succinctly, Prince, I think anywhere above 16-17%, and if you can manage 20 is a very good rate of return.
All right, sir. So we got one speaker. I will take his question and then I'll come again. So Ramneek, you can unmute and ask your question, please. Mr. Ramneek, you are still on mute. Maybe some issue. So Manu sir, like how you were talking about the portfolio, and we all know the return on portfolio is something what matters, right? Rather than like we have a FOMO about getting the multi-baggers in the market also. So how does I mean there is no one answer to this, I know, but again, how you think an ideal portfolio is, and on the number of stocks, like how many stocks you prefer in your portfolio, and what minimum allocation, maximum allocation, if you have any such thing on, so
Of
please.
course, Prince, great question. I'm not as bold as Warren Buffett that I can invest 50 to 60% in a single stock. I don't have that courage yet. At some point of time, I think I will. But I'll give you two small examples. I Whenever I start, I never cross 5 to 7% in a single stock. Some very large fund managers stick to 2.5%. I mean, I appreciate uh, मैं नाम भूल रहा हूँ उनका, जो सिंगापुर बेस्ड है, जिन्होंने अभी म्यूचुअल फंड भी लॉन्च किया है, कैसे नाम भूल गया सडनली।
Sameer Arora sir.
जी जी जी। उनका कंसेप्ट ही मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, वो 2.5% से ऊपर जाते ही नहीं किसी वेटेज में। लेकिन most of the mutual funds I see, when I see their allocation, and every mutual fund has the same allocation, the ICICI, the HDFC, the Infosys, and the Reliance, and the TCS, all of that, they take it up to 6 to 7%. I generally stick to about 5% when I have done full allocation. And then sometimes you get lucky, or you are blessed, or rather you can feel chuffed by saying that you took the right decision. Like, I'll give you a small example. Just about 7 months ago, I realized that the problems of NSE don't seem to be ending at all. And BSE got a new CEO, and I saw one of his interviews. The subtlety of his style, of his interview, his clarity of thought, his tonality of his interviews, it made me feel that I do not know where BSC will go, but BSC's got a good CEO, because I've never seen so much of clarity in a business. And then I realized, between BSC and NSE there are only two exchanges. And NSE, when it gets listed, and of course NSE numbers are amazing, because I own some stock in unlisted NSE as well. So their dividends, their growth is amazing. But I realized, from a listed space, BSC has the advantage of a low base effect, because it's the oldest, it has a great board, it has great large shareholders, so they would have some influence, and they themselves are very, very great guys. So I started building a position in BSC when it was $400. So we built a 5% position in BSC at $400। अब उसको आप हमारा लक बोलिए, या हमारी उस समय की एक रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी बोलिए, या सिंप्लिसिटी ऑफ थॉट बोलिए, कि I don't think a lot of people were buying BSC at that point of time, because people have been waiting for the NSE IPO for the longest period of time. So we took about 5-6% of our weightage. And today, without adding to that, I think that's become 17% of our weightage, because of BSC, by the grace of God, luck, strategy, whatever you may call it, it has become 23-2400 bucks. Now it worries me every day, because anything that goes dramatically up, can come down dramatically. But obviously, the chance of BSE coming down from or correcting by 80% is a lot lesser than the chance for a Vodafone or a Suzlon to correct by that much, right? So yeah, you do take, because we are in equity, so you have to take a informed decision, a measured risk. But that's how we do our allocation. We never take our allocation up more than 5%. And if in the due course of time it goes up, we are not terribly keen to kind of reduce our allocation percentage just because it has become 10 or 12 or 15% of our portfolio. If the company is doing well, we are fine. At 22 2300 हमने अपने BSC की holding का we sold off like I think 5% of our holding, which is still nothing. It gave us some money, it created a bit of liquidity, we are still holding it, still a very large part of our portfolio. And so there are a few good baggers. I don't believe in multi baggers, because multi baggers is all luck and is all a matter of chance, which we try and masquerade as strategy. But yeah, you got to be a bit lucky. You got to be a bit sure of what you've done in the past, and that's what gives you multi baggers. But yeah, stick to your winners. Make sure that the size of your mistakes is negligibly small and the size of your good decisions is disproportionately large. And that's how we believe. And again, it's hyper simplified. There's no rocket science in it. Everybody, I think, is already doing it, and everybody must continue to do this. And that's what Peter Lynch says, right? Do not water your weeds and cut your roses. On the contrary, keep watering your roses and quickly get rid of your weeds. And that's how uh, we manage our and our clients' money.
So another important question which comes to my mind is like normally what happens if you make some investment, right? And how much time do you give to that investment so as to like, I mean, you have something in mind. Say if you invested in some XYZ company, that I have this thesis in mind, and if that is not playing out, right? So how much how much of time, maybe a quarter or so, you give to that investment before cutting your position, or maybe you realizing that we have committed a mistake.
If if you feel that you've not made a mistake in reading the balance sheet or the P&L, and if your original thesis holds, then I think you should give everything and everybody and every company a chance. Because if they are doing things right, if they are true towards their shareholders and their employees, yeah, company is nothing but a sum total of collective effort by all the employees. So if a company is generally uh, good towards its shareholders in its communication, good towards its own business, and if you understand that business and you feel that whatever they are doing is seemingly right, then I think you should not be in a hurry to to pluck the fruits at all, or to expect the plant or the tree to give you fruits. I mean, I'll give you a small example. There is a small mid-size real estate company called Ashiana Housing. I had the good fortune to meet its promoters and its founders many years ago. And in a talk, in a environment, in a public domain, the way they spoke about their customers, and the way they spoke about their employees, and the way the simplicity and the genuineness of those promoters towards these two important stakeholders was, I said, you know what? A, they are making mid-size houses for middle class, which is the largest growing what you call demographic in our country. They are not trying to sell a 10 crore apartment, they are trying to sell a sub 1 crore apartment, which of course today is a lot. 10 years ago they were selling I think just 30-40 lakh apartment. And and they are very risk averse as far as debt is concerned. So they existed even when the Purvankaras of the world and so many real estate companies, I'm forgetting the name, which emerged between 6, 7, 8, the Unitex of the world and all, and they all vanished. They were existing then as well. They are existing now as well. They are not, they are not killing themselves for growth. Their quality of disclosures quarter on quarter is the best amongst any real estate company. Their quality of disclosure is better than DLF, better than Godrej Properties. I think these are the two great place marks for real estate companies. they they are very cautious about leveraging their balance sheet. तो मुझे लगा कि ये लोग अपने क्लाइंट्स का ख्याल रख रहे हैं, इनके क्लाइंट्स खुश हैं, ये लोग अपने एम्प्लॉयज का ख्याल रख रहे हैं, कोई एम्प्लॉय छोड़ के ही नहीं जाता उस कंपनी को, which speaks a lot about a real estate company, right? And and they are not ever taking a risk on their balance sheet in the एब्सोल्यूट मैड परसूट ऑफ ग्रोथ. तो मैंने वो शेयर खरीदना शुरू किया धीरे 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 धीरे, पहले पर्सनल पोर्टफोलियो में, अपने क्लाइंट्स के पोर्टफोलियो में 10, 12, 15 रुपए से. और वो ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई बहुत मल्टी बैगर बन गया इन एनी किसी भी 4 ईयर टाइम फ्रेम में लो. इट हैज नेवर बीन अ मल्टी बैगर. बट टुडे बाय द ग्रेस ऑफ गॉड दैट स्टॉक इज अबाउट आई थिंक 260 रुपीज. मैं तो प्राइस भी नहीं देखता, 260 रुपए का हो गया वो 2008-9 से लेके अब तक. आई थिंक दैट्स अ रीजनेबल ग्रोथ. That's a reasonable kind of expectation to have, and parameter to judge a company as to how and whether a company will do well, because the risk that a company takes. Because today we all like growth. आज CNBC पे आप सुनिए कि ये इस कंपनी ने इतना लैंड एक्वायर कर लिया, या इस कंपनी ने ये होटल एक्वायर कर लिया, या इस कंपनी ने ये एक और कंपनी एक्वायर कर ली और उसका स्टॉक प्राइस बढ़ जाता है. नोबडी ट्रूली रियली आस्क्स अ क्वेश्चन कि if you have acquired something, obviously you paid a fair price. So if you are merging a fair priced company into another fair priced company, and sometimes when you acquire a company you pay a premium, how does it truly add value for a shareholder if you cannot grow, if you cannot grow generically? ITC is a great example. It's a great cash churner, great company. Historically, they filed 100 crore defamation suit against me because I've pointed out a lot of flaws in the way they've managed and run their company. And to their credit, because of my relentless pursuit of their quality of reporting or their thing, they have started doing a lot of things which are investor friendly, and the stock prices also started reflecting that. But the thing is that I still believe it is a very badly managed company, because they keep acquiring. A company of ITC's size should have the capacity, when they've got the highest quantum of crorepati employees, they should also have an internal competence to develop new brands, to develop subdivisions using their existing talent. Whereas they keep acquiring companies at obnoxious valuations just to expand their balance sheet. So yeah, because the cigarette revenue is coming, because they have immense amount of cash flows, the company is doing very well, and nothing against that. But if you ask me a question, can they do any better? I think they can do a lot better, considering the business that they are in and the cash they are generating. So yes, on one hand, I'm discussing a very small 3,000 crore company, and I'm appreciating it. And on the same breath, I'm questioning a few business practices of a 5 lakh crore company as well. Yeah. So yeah, you have to have a strong belief and opinion about all that you are doing and all that you are judging and valuing. And that's what differentiates one investor from another. And that's why, despite of all the teachings of Warren Buffett, nobody else could be a Warren Buffett ever, because it's very easy to read what he's written, to profess and talk what he teaches, but very difficult to practice what he stands for. And I think practicing the most established boring fundamentals of investment requires a lot of courage. Sometimes you have to face a lot of criticism. Sometimes you have to not be involved in FOMO. Sometimes you have to just let go of so many opportunities which are low hanging fruits, because हर शेयर ही आप हर रोज देख रहे हो 5% बढ़ रहा है, हर पीएसयू बैंक 5% 10% बढ़ रहा है, कहां से कहां पहुंच गए। तो वो फोमो को अवॉइड करने के लिए आई थिंक यू हैव टू हैव सम, your own personality has to be strong, and your courage of conviction has to be very strong, that what you do and believe is based on the learnings and the teachings of some of the most the so-called forefathers in the field of investing.
Right, sir, and very relevant points you just made. The intent and the execution of the management and the capital allocation are very important aspect to look for. So, sir, another question which comes to my mind is like when it comes to clients' money, right? And if you take example of mutual funds, they have a compulsion of investing it maybe within 24 hours or maybe within whatever the time limit is. But if say some incremental money comes to you from your client, right? So how you go about investing that? And on the top of that, client communication is a very important aspect, because until unless the client and the maybe and the fund manager, if they are not on the same page, right, then things can go awry, in the sense like if the market has corrected, so their behavior can make them pull the money at the wrong time, right? So let's talk on these two important aspects.
So yeah, great question, because most of the fund managers, अब हम लोग सब लोग बहुत खुश हो रहे हैं कि हर महीने 16,000 करोड़ की हमारी सिप्स इंडिया में हो रही हैं, and mutual funds have to invest all the money in in within 24 hours. And the problem that I see happening, and not very many people agree with me, is that there are not enough companies with enough depth to even absorb that quantum of capital. Indian middle class used to save 36% of their earnings into their fixed deposits and fixed income instruments. 36% was the saving rate. Today, that has, I think, dropped by half. And everyone's getting FOMOed to invest into the stock market. And the stock market is already trading at 24, 25 PE. And this is only the Nifty 50. When you take the Nifty 500 and the Nifty 1000 or whatever, or the Nifty 500 to 1000, which comprises of the small cap and the mid cap universe, that's trading at nearly 40, 50 PE. So the buy at any price in the hope for a future growth can land a lot of investors in a lot of pain over a long period of time. And sometimes people do not have the bandwidth to wait for that long. So in my opinion, I think the regulator and the overall ecosystem of entrepreneurship should become deep enough to be able to absorb that capital, because today everyone is saying यार आपने small और mid cap म्यूचुअल फंड में क्यों पैसा नहीं लगाया, वहां तो पैसा डबल हो रहा है, because in small and mid cap there is a limited universe, and most of this limited universe just 5 years back was all kachra. So, are you telling me that all the promoters have become incarnations of Lord Rama? That all their companies and all their growth can suddenly absorb this kind of a monthly SIP? I think it is not. I'm happy to sit on cash for long periods of time, and I tell my customers well in advance, if you are happy to see a cash figure even up to a year in your bank account, in your monthly statement, please then invest with me. Because if I change my fundamental style of investing and doing due diligence and not being FOMOed and just invest in everything that comes along the way, just because I want to beat the market, or just because I want to beat the next fund manager who is on CNBC, or to beat the report, the PMS Bazaar report, which is where we also submit our data. If I have to do that, and if I am forced to enter that rat race, I will end up becoming a rat and end up doing some stupidity or end up taking a stupid decision with my client's money. So yes, the index has gone up, say, I mean, over the last 2 years it hasn't moved too much, but over the last 1 year it might have gone up dramatically by 1500 2000 points. But people who've joined us, people who've invested with us and believed in us in the last 1 year 15 months, I would say in most of those portfolios I'm still sitting on 30-40% cash, and my clients are very happy with it. I speak to them freely. They have the liberty to call me, fix an appointment with me. But even before I accept their check, I try to speak to them 2 or 3 times and not give them the philosophy of buy at any price because India will grow and India by 2070 will become a $300 trillion economy. The trouble also is that, we get so enamored by these numbers and potential for growth that we forget our present situation and present valuation setup. So, of course, will India grow the fastest? Of course, I'm an Indian. I chose to be in India despite of all the global opportunities I got because I believe in India, and I think I'm the luckiest guy at 50 to be so middle aged or so young in my second phase of life to be an Indian. If I was an Indian at 50, 20 years ago, I would not have done so well, or I would not have been so bullish because we've seen how our parents have struggled, right? Small salaries, many kids, absolutely lower middle class. खाना खाना है तो मिठाई नहीं खा सकते, पिक्चर जाते हैं तो पॉपकॉर्न सोच समझ के खाना पड़ रहा है. तो all of these things we've seen in our lifespan, and today, by the grace of God, to not be able to think twice before buying something for your child, or to worry about your child's fees, or a small next holiday that you're taking. I think we are very, very lucky to be alive in this age and stage of our country. But when you hear and see figures like 30 trillion by 2030, now these numbers are so large and so distant that they sound great, and you get enamored by them, but they defy math because everything, मतलब हर चीज का गणित must add up, the math must add up. So narratives are great selling points, but do your own math, do your own due diligence, and while in the long run everything will be an absolute bullseye, in the short run, do not make stupid mistakes. That I tell my clients. Do not be FOMOed in the short run. That I tell everyone around me. And do not do stupid decisions at stupid valuations. That I tell for myself every day in the morning. Because हम लोगों पे जो दायित्व है अपने क्लाइंट्स का मनी, बिकॉज क्या होगा, अच्छे समय पे तो हमें बहुत शाबाशी मिल जाएगी, और बुरे समय पे हम ब्लेम अपने डिसीजन को नहीं करेंगे, मार्केट को कर देंगे कि यार मार्केट ही गिर गई, वो स्टॉक ही गिर गया, हम क्या करें. सो जनरली दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस. लेट मी गिव यू अ स्मॉल एग्जांपल. बिफोर आई लॉन्च्ड माय पीएमएस, मैंने 2-3 पीएमएस का क्लाइंट बन गया जस्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड how they communicate with their clients, what are their compliances, what is their quality of emails, monthly reporting, because that was a good way to form an SOP or a modus operandi for my own PMS, or my own for my own clients. और मैंने एक इंडिया के टॉप पीएमएस को पैसा दिया, 2000 मेरे ख्याल 15 की बात है जी, 25 लाख रुपए देना पड़ता था तब, 25 लाख रुपए दिया, और 2019 में मैंने 17.5 लाख रुपए वापस मिला. और वो उस पीएमएस के जो फंड मैनेजर है वो हर रोज टीवी पे आते हैं, लेकिन उनसे कोई सवाल नहीं पूछता क्योंकि वो बहुत बड़े पीएमएस है, लेकिन फिर भी लोग उनकी बातें सुन रहे हैं. तो बस यही है कि मूर्खता मत करो, ग्रोथ अपने आप आ जाएगी, चाहे वो आपकी जॉब में है, चाहे आपकी रिलेशनशिप में है, चाहे आपके अपने कंडक्ट और कैरेक्टर में है. स्टॉप मेकिंग फुलिश मिस्टेक्स, Treat others' money as if it was your daughter's money, your mother's money, your father's money. Your own future should rely on your client's money. And 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 I think those are very simple fundamentals to have a conduct and a character for your own self and for your fund and for the people around you.
And so you rightly said that we should not make stupid mistakes, but if we talk about, say, period of underperformance, right? So there are times when, and obviously everybody goes through those times of underperformance. So, and it normally happens like when there is stress around or maybe period of underperformance, then we end up making stupid mistakes. So, have you ever come across any such phase, or if not, then how you tackled the periods of underperformance in your journey so far?
So, in the first place, a client became your client because he believed in you. I have gone through phases of underperformance and I have received a bit of criticism from my clients also. In fact, एक client की मैं बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ, वो मेरे बहुत अच्छे मित्र भी हैं, लेकिन वो हर रोज ही हमारी रिसर्च टीम को और हमारे साथ उनके बड़े अच्छे संबंध भी हैं, तो हमारी रिसर्च टीम को हर रोज फोन करके वो कुछ सुझाव देने लगे कि ये करो, ये ना करो, ये करो, ये ना करो। अब हमारी उनकी उनकी इज्जत के प्रति, उनकी इज्जत की वजह से हम उनकी बातें भी सुन रहे हैं, तो हम इन्फ्लुएंस होने लग गए। फिर मुझे क्या करना पड़ा, हाथ जोड़ के उनके पैसे उनको वापस करने पड़े। और उन्होंने बोला नहीं नहीं चलो पैसे वापस मत करो। तो मैंने वो हिसाब लगाया कि ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम कुछ अकाउंट्स जो उसी महीने में खुले थे उनके साथ, दोज अकाउंट्स आर अप 225%। और आज से कोई 4 महीने पहले मैंने उनको जबरदस्ती हाथ जोड़ के उनके पैसे वापस कर दिए कि सर मेरे से नहीं हो पाएगा। और उनका पोर्टफोलियो मैंने सिर्फ 32% अब वापस किया, बिकॉज वो खुद ही अपना पोर्टफोलियो मैनेज करने लग गए। तो अंडर परफॉर्मेंस अगर है तो भी आपको अपने आप पे विश्वास होना चाहिए और आपके क्लाइंट्स को आप पे विश्वास होना चाहिए। बिकॉज बिकॉज आउट पर एवरी आउट परफॉर्मेंस विल बी फॉलोड बाय सम अंडर परफॉर्मेंस, because anything that goes up must come down, anything that is down and continues to goes down, if it is not again a stupid mistake, will eventually go up. I have seen this over and over and over and over again in my life. I'll give you another small example. विशाल सिक्का का जब ये क्राइसिस हुआ था इन्फोसिस में, and since I live in Bangalore, and my wife is a director with Confederation of Indian Industry, she deals very very closely with Infosys founders, and she tells me a lot about their way of thinking, their conduct, their character. So at the peak of the Vishal Sikka crisis, when all the top analysts were coming on CNBC and were telling us that the future of Infosys is over, and people were hugely discrediting Mr. Narayan Murthy ji, and writing articles and articles against him and the way he was trying to intervene, I took a very large position for me and my clients in Infosys. And by the grace of God, that one decision changed the fortune of my fund, because I knew that a quarter can be bad, a 6 months can be bad for Infosys, but an Infosys that is founded on the fundamentals of propriety as early as 1995, with some of the most honest founders that the world has ever seen, that company has to bounce back. And of course, we've all seen it has bounced back today. For its size, it is better performing than TCS, it is better performing than HCL, it is far far better performing than Wipro. Tier 2 को तो मैं कोई खास ज़्यादा उसको बहुत कंसिडर नहीं करता Tier 2 IT को. Of course Tier 2 IT has given a lot of good return, and we also have some position in LTTS, but yeah, that's how you need to have a beer and go through some pain of underperformance, and make sure that the people around you also have a belief that this underperformance is just momentary, because the underlying tenet of your investment philosophy is sound, it is robust, and it is sustainable over a long period of time. मैं आज भी पूछता हूं सब लोगों से कि आर यू रेडी टू सेल योर फैमिली वेल्थ, एंड एवरी वन इज सेइंग दैट Suzlon is turned around. Are you ready to sell your family silver and buy Suzlon? Suzlon can be a 1% punt कि चलो 5 रुपए से 30 रुपए हो गया. But are you ready to invest 30% of your net worth? So don't get too enamored by Suzlon or Vodafone or the promise of turnaround. The point is the conduct and character of a company also matters. And that enough and more. I have nothing against Suzlon. It's just a very apparent example, very vivid example in my mind, because it's a very well discussed stock these days on the CNBC. But the question is, if you're happy to invest 30% of your net worth in Suzlon, then go for it. Have that courage of conviction and do. But if you are just taking a punt on Suzlon thinking कि वो 3 से 30 हो गया, and you are just invested 1% of your wealth or 0.5% of your wealth just to feel good about it, then it's not an investment. Then it's a casino. Then it's a punt. It's a lottery ticket. Then and all of us are fond of going to a casino. And somehow, if you do a red black on a roulette table, you have a better chance of winning, because every time the dice is thrown, you have a 50% chance of doubling your money on a red black. Have I answered your question well, Prince?
You did, sir. You surely did, and very relevant point made by you. So we got Babulal ji on as a speaker. So, sir, you can unmute and maybe ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Manu. Uh, so, so similar stories playing on Jain irrigation.
जी सर, ऐसा है, जैन इरिगेशन के बारे में नाम सुना है, बड़ी पुरानी कंपनी है, पर मेरी जीरो इंफॉर्मेशन है, क्योंकि मैं अपनी जीवन का एक पल या एक क्षण भी जैन इरिगेशन पे स्पेंड करने के लिए रेडी ही नहीं हूँ.
Great. I understand your
आई एम सो सॉरी.
and I understand your view. You are on
हाँ
more on the promoter rather than on the anything else.
जी 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 जी. देखिए, आप मुझे एक बात बताइए, आदमी की एजुकेशन चेंज हो सकती है, उसकी स्किल चेंज हो सकती है, चरित्र चेंज नहीं हो सकता.
बात सही है सर, आपकी एकदम सही है.
तो अगर अगर प्रमोटर सेम है तो सिर्फ नैरेटिव बदला है, चरित्र नहीं बदला.
You are right, sir. You are right.
और नैरेटिव्स पे आप लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट और वेल्थ क्रिएशन नहीं कर सकते. सही है सर.
Absolutely right, sir. And here, I got personally benefited by betting on the management was CG Power. I bought at the initial stages, just betting on.
अब आप ये देखिए, मुरुगप्पा ग्रुप ने लिया सीजी पावर.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, इतनी खराब बैलेंस शीट थी, इतनी खराब बैलेंस शीट थी, और कई बार मुझे रिग्रेट होता है कि यार, अगर मुरुगप्पा ग्रुप ने खरीदा तो मुझे भी खरीद लेना चाहिए था, बिकॉज दे वुड हैव डन समथिंग. तो ये भी एक रिग्रेट है, सीजी पावर मिस हो गया हमसे.
ठीक है सर.
लेकिन लेकिन बहुत अच्छा, मुरुगप्पा ग्रुप का वेंट, ये वो दुनिया भर की कंपनियां हैं इनकी. दे हैव क्रिएटेड इमेंस वेल्थ फॉर देयर शेयर होल्डर्स. बिकॉज क्या है ना, सुबह शाम पूजा पाठ करते हैं, भगवान से डरते हैं, सिंपल लाइफस्टाइल रखा हुआ है, टीवी पे ज्यादा आते नहीं, ज्ञान देते नहीं. So they have underpinned the personality of their company in absolute simplicity and honesty. So these companies are likely to do well over a long period of time.
And they have given us a 10x returns.
Absolutely, ji.
So,
Absolutely.
sir, I have a question with you. Now that you are saying that so much money coming into SIP is not possible it is impractical to be deployed in the markets. So, same way, should the individual investor also sit on cash in such a bull run?
देखिए जी, अगर आप में भय नहीं है मिस आउट करने का, तो 20-30% पे कैश पे बैठ भी जाओ तो क्या हर्ज है. आपका बाकी 60-70% परफॉर्म कर रहा है, मार्केट के हिसाब से। तो आपको नेट नेट जो नुकसान हुआ वो 20-30% की ग्रोथ का हुआ ना जी, हाइपोथेटिकल
सर
नुकसान।
सही है।
और जब कहते हैं ना कि इन्वेस्ट व्हेन देयर इज ब्लड ऑन द स्ट्रीट, बट अगर आपका सारा ब्लड ही स्ट्रीट पे हो गया तो इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए बचेगा ही नहीं। तो मेक श्योर दैट व्हेन देयर इज ब्लड ऑन द स्ट्रीट इट इज नॉट योर ब्लड। So, and to ensure that it is not our blood on the street, you have to have some cash when there is a panic. अब अब जैसे आज इलेक्शन के रिजल्ट आए, हम वी आर ओवर जॉयड बिकॉज कल को 200-300 पॉइंट निफ्टी ऊपर खुलेगा, धड़ाधड़ पोर्टफोलियोज ऊपर भागेंगे, और हर तरफ ग्रीन देख के 5-7% अप देख के बड़ा मजा आता है। लेकिन फल तो वही है ना जी जो तोड़ के खा लिया। अगर फल लगा ही रह गया पेड़ पे और उसको खाया ही नहीं, तो या फल सड़ जाएगा या वो गिर जाएगा और वो नुकसान हो जाएगा। तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि बहुत लोग इस समय फल सब देख देख के खुश तो हो रहे हैं अपने बाग को, खा कोई नहीं रहा।
You are absolutely right, sir. 20-30% portfolio should be proper profit making company should
और
be.
वो भी इससे, अब यहां से वो बात मैं भी मानता हूं राकेश झुंझुनवाला की कि जी 1 लाख रुपए, 1 लाख हो जाएगा निफ्टी, 3 लाख हो जाएगा सेंसेक्स। अरे ये बातें बहुत अच्छी लग रही हैं, लेकिन उस एक जर्नी में जब 1 लाख होगा तो 20 से 15 भी तो हो सकता है। तो अगले 4 महीने में अगर कोई आपसे सवाल पूछे कि यार 20 से कहां, प्रोबेबिलिटी क्या है, प्योर प्रोबेबिलिटी, मैथमेटिकल फिगर, 20 से 22 जाने की क्या प्रोबेबिलिटी है और किस कठिनाई से जाएगा प्रेजेंट वैल्यूएशन पे, और 20 से 18 आने की प्रोबेबिलिटी क्या है और कितनी आसानी से आ सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ वैल्यूएशंस। तो अगर वो गणित आपके माइंड में क्लियर है तो आपकी कैश एलोकेशन में आपको कठिनाई कभी नहीं आएगी। लेकिन अगर आप निफ्टी को 1 लाख ही देखते रहेंगे तो हां 1 लाख होगा, 100% होगा, 1000% होगा। लेकिन उस जर्नी में जो थोड़ा सा अपॉर्चुनिटीज है आपको, अगर आप 110% इन्वेस्टेड हैं तो उन अपॉर्चुनिटीज को आपको गिव अप करना पड़ेगा जब मौका मिलेगा अलोंग द वे।
Sir, I really got your point and I really appreciate your thinking that when money comes more than capacity of the market, it should not be absorbed. It should be held as a cash. That is what your view is, and that is what I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, sir.
एक और चीज हम अब कर रहे हैं अपने क्लाइंट्स के पैसे के साथ कि हम 20% तक की एलोकेशन सिल्वर और गोल्ड में कर रहे हैं। मुझे नहीं लगता कि बहुत ज्यादा लोग म्यूचुअल फंड्स वाले सिल्वर और गोल्ड में एलोकेशन कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज अगर आप ग्लोबल डेटा पॉइंट्स को देखें और सिल्वर गोल्ड की बहुत सारे मतलब मैक्रो फैक्टर्स हैं जो इस समय मुझे लगता है बिल्ड अप कर रहे हैं गोल्ड और सिल्वर की री रेटिंग के लिए। अगर बाई चांस अमेरिका में थोड़ी सी भी डी डॉलराइजेशन हेसन अप हुई, फास्ट हुई, तो मैं अचंभित नहीं होऊंगा कि अगर सिल्वर यहां से 3-4 गुना हो जाए और गोल्ड यहां से डबल हो जाए अगले 2 से 3 साल में। तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि एचडीएफसी या आईसीआईसीआई 3 साल में डबल इतनी आसानी से हो सकता है, पर मुझे लगता है गोल्ड और सिल्वर हो सकता है। और गोल्ड और सिल्वर इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है, गोल्ड और सिल्वर इज अनदर फॉर्म ऑफ करेंसी इन माय ओपिनियन विच इज अ ग्लोबली एक्सेप्टेड करेंसी। तो हमने हमने सिर्फ रिस्क को डाइवर्सिफाई करने के लिए जब जब 3 से 4% सिल्वर में फॉल आता है और 1 से 1.5% गोल्ड में फॉल आता है, हम हल्का हल्का निबल करते रहते हैं, उसमें भी हम फोमो नहीं हो रहे। पर हम चाह रहे हैं कि हम इस मूवमेंट पे अगले 4-5 साल के लिए, ऐसा नहीं है कि हम हमेशा ही गोल्ड और सिल्वर में इन्वेस्टेड रहेंगे, बट अगले 3-4 साल के लिए वी वॉन्ट टू हैव 20 to नियरली 20% sorry, of our portfolio allocation into precious metals.
Well appreciated, sir. Your thought process is really appreciable.
So, Manu sir, the cash position is more or less maintained throughout, or depending upon the market situation, that changes?
जो लॉन्ग टर्म क्लाइंट्स हैं उनमें हमेशा मैं 10 से 12% कैश रखता ही हूं, क्योंकि वो 10 से 12% भी 5.5-6% तो कमा ही रहा है लिक्विड फंड्स में। और मेरे पास हमेशा एक फ्रीडम है कि परपेचुअल बुल मार्केट में भी अगर मेरा पर्टिकुलर जो मेरी लिस्ट है 20 22 25 स्टॉक्स की, कुछ मेरी विश लिस्ट में है, कुछ इन्वेस्टेड लिस्ट में है, इफ दैट इज द केस, तो परपेचुअल बुल मार्केट में भी जब सडनली 200 पॉइंट का फॉल आया और अगर आपका चहेता स्टॉक आपको 10% नीचे मिल रहा है, तो अगर आपके पास कैश ही नहीं होगा तो आप इन्वेस्ट ही नहीं कर पाओगे। तो मैं 10-12% हमेशा कैश रखता हूं लॉन्ग टर्म अपने क्लाइंट्स के पोर्टफोलियो में। और जो शॉर्ट टर्म जो अभी अभी ज्वाइन किए हैं उनमें तो मैंने आपको बताया ही है कि आई हैव अ रीजनेबली लार्ज कैश पोजीशन, बिकॉज बिकॉज मुझे मौका मिल ही जाएगा धीरे धीरे उसको डिप्लॉय करने का। मुझे कोई फोमो है ही नहीं उसको ओवरनाइट डिप्लॉय करना। मैं 1 साल में डिप्लॉय करूंगा और मैं रीजनेबली कॉन्फिडेंट हूं कि मैं मार्केट को फिर भी बीट कर दूंगा, इवन दो आई सैट ऑन कैश over a long period of time.
Right. So, sir, at this point in time, how you see the broader market, maybe the market outlook, and how, although you more or less explain how you are placing yourself, be it the cash position or the investable position or the diversification, other asset classes, the precious metal you just explained. So broadly, like how it goes for you, sir.
So, at any point of time, I am a perpetual bull, because if you're not a bull, you can't be in the market, right? But if you are a bull and you have a photograph of a bear lying in front of you, or or you know what a bear can do to you while you're a raging bull, over invested in the market, I think that keeps you sane, that keeps you grounded. So even in a bullish environment के प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का 2024 में आना एब्सोल्युटली निर्धारित ही हो गया है, ऑलमोस्ट सर्टन हो गया है। ही इज अ ग्रेट एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, ही इज अ ग्रेट लीडर, he is a great marketer of India as a nation, right? Every global leader is trying to click a selfie with him. Pehle India was considered a second grade country. Today India is considered a not only a first grade country in terms of how we managed our nation, managed our policy, managed our foreign policy, managed our central bank, our finances of the nation. Not only are we a global leader, people are taking example with the way we have conducted. So hats off to Mr. Modi for having not only done what he did, but also having marketed it in the right manner. But also, now, when everything is going great, at least 1% be cognizant that something can go wrong. Because if you are always aware and be conscious that, yeah, something can go wrong. Now, what can go wrong? Nobody knows what can go wrong. Maybe there is such a severe global downturn in America that our Indian IT sector suffers. Maybe there is such a global geopolitical issue that Russia gets involved in the war or pulled in the war, Iran gets pulled in the war, America gets pulled in the war, तो growth होगी ही नहीं, क्योंकि that pervasive fear will be there everywhere and people would want to save a lot more than spend. See, collective bullishness of everyone, of 51% people on the planet, is a bullish time for the planet. Collective bearishness of just 51% people, so it's only a 1% swing. If more people are bullish than bearish, the world is in an absolute phase of positivity. If more people are fearful than they are bullish, then it's called a recession. So, same people, same planet, same set of companies, same set of circumstances. It is just our thoughts, collective thoughts, that make us a bull or a bear. So, who knows that if We have seen nearly 14 years of bullish time, right? And I wish and pray every single day that this should last forever. But the sheer law of probability says that so much of bullishness has been has flown through the veins of global economy that nobody is now cognizant of the fact that something somewhere can break or go wrong. So a lot of people who are listening here would have heard about the American debt. Now, if you start reading too much about it, because if you're a global macroeconomist, or you enjoy reading the global macros, ऐसा लगता है कि भेजा ही फ्राई हो जाएगा, as if the world will fall apart, and that will be triggered by the US. But if you are ignorant, if you are happily ignorant and choose to ignore all that and just look at our Indian markets and feel that we are completely insulated from everything global, देन तो फिर तो अपनी किडनी भी बेच के हमें स्टॉक मार्केट में लगा देना चाहिए, because nothing can go wrong in that case. So what risk management is nothing but be cognizant of every single thing that's happening and things that can go wrong, because we know that everything over a long period of time only goes right, because that's how evolution takes place, and that's how we should mentally be tuned to believe that everything must go right. Just be cognizant, just be just not be blinded to the risk that can emerge from an unknown quarter. And I think that's how you can save your investments.
Right, sir. So there are too many narratives going on across sectors. So which sectors you are finding value in, and are there any sectors which are in the stay away list for you, or maybe the valuation comfort is not in place?
Okay, one of the sectors that's completely stay away list for me is banking. And I think a lot of people will hate me to say that, will hate me for that. I think that banking is a very, very risky sector right now. I think PSU banking is even a more riskier sector. And honestly, I would love to be wrong here, because I have zero allocation in banking, but my other allocation has performed better than banking, so I'm okay. So I would love to be wrong about my banking hypothesis, because I have nothing to gain and nothing to lose from it. Because if I'm wrong, if I'm right about my banking hypothesis, the economy suffers. But if I'm wrong about my banking hypothesis, then the economy in any case is progressing and it will continue to progress. So personally, I'm very scared of banking right now, very scared of, reasonably scared of private banking, very scared of PSU banking. So I have chosen to be away from these sectors. I am also choosing to be away from this entire PSU space, right? Because I believe that the same employees are running the same companies in their same style, doing business with each other, protecting each other's profit. Because if a HAL buys from BEL or BEML and a BEML, I'm not saying that clients or customers to each other, I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. One PSU, a large client of another PSU, protecting each other's profit, making sure that the balance sheets are and profitability is maintained. Actually, who's paying for that profitability? Eventually, it is the taxpayer who's paying for that profitability. Now, if these companies do invent some cutting edge technology, when I say cutting edge, means you become the Teslas of the world, you become their CEOs, and their managing directors become the Elon Musks of the world, and invent or start changing the world by their inventions, not by being just a supplier, then these companies can change the way they are looked at by the rest of the world. Otherwise, whatever any of these companies is doing can be done by any other company in China or Taiwan or Korea, because it's a hyper competitive environment. So if the HALs of the world and the BEMLs of the world and BHALs of the world and all of these very, very loved companies start inventing some cutting edge technology to change the planet, then I think the future is very, very bright. But as long as we are just suppliers to each other, protecting each other's profit, I think the edge can very easily get diversified away over the next few quarters or years or whatever. And everything, the way it has got re-rated upwards, can also get re-rated downwards. And I'm not suggesting one bit that it must get re-rated or it will get re-rated. But I personally am not comfortable unless I see evidence of some cutting edge by Indian companies, especially the PSU companies, where their patent is changing the world. Today, I was seeing a video of Cybertruck that Elon Musk has launched. You know, this is the first ever vehicle. I don't know how many of you are aware. This is the first ever vehicle where the steering is not connected by a shaft to the wheels. The steering is moving the wheels using sensors. So there is no physical rod. उसको rod का कोई नाम है, मैं भूल रहा हूं क्या होता है, जो स्टेयरिंग को एक्सल के साथ व्हील के साथ जोड़ता है, तो उसका एक टेक्निकल नेम है, आई एम फॉरगेटिंग. So unless you do something cutting edge, you will not change the world. And if you are not changing the world, you're just a supplier. And if you're just a supplier, you will suffer from hyper competition. If not today, a few quarters down the line, and you will suddenly get derated downwards the way you got re-rated upwards. And that is the reason why Apple can trade at 40 PE and still people are ready to buy Apple, and Tesla can trade at 80 PE. But our Indian IT companies, we are reconciled to the fact that we have to trade at 18, 20 PE in long-term averages, because most of the Indian companies are only back end of global companies. We are only suppliers, and we are only competing one against each other to do some back end project work for a global cutting edge company. So yes, if a PSU, an Indian PSU comes up with a cutting edge technology, I say sell everything else and buy that. But otherwise, have a limited, don't get too enamored. Have a limited allocation, be cognizant of the risk around it. Am I with
Any,
you?
yes, yes, yes. Any other themes of the likes of manufacturing, maybe EV and the energy space, which has been the talk of the town, the renewable energy and all?
तो मुझे लगता है जी कि जो जो कंपनीज में सिर्फ 2 या 3 प्लेयर्स हैं, those companies will do well. We like Bharti a lot, right? Because कोविड हो, न्यूक्लियर वॉर हो, सब लोग टेलीफोन पे बात करेंगे ही करेंगे. वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज इंक्रीज होती ही रहेंगी. हमने भारती लिया था मेरे ख्याल से 400-450 रुपए पे, आज से कुछ साल पहले, और उसको हम धीरे 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 ऐड करते रहे. अब हमें घबराहट भी होती है, बिकॉज वी ऑल्सो सफर फ्रॉम आवर ओन बायसेस, एंकरिंग बायसेस, कि यार हमने भारती तो हम 400-500 रुपए पे ले रहे थे, अब 1000 रुपए पे नए क्लाइंट के लिए कैसे ले लें. लेकिन फिर भी हिम्मत करनी पड़ती है, तो निबल करते रहते हैं. वो 2% गिरता है, किसी दिन 3% गिरता है, फिर थोड़ा सा स्टॉक ले लिया. तो हम भी घबराए हुए ही रहते हैं अपने क्लाइंट के पैसे को लेके. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि अगर इन्फ्लेशन के रेट से ही आरपू बढ़ता रहा, बिकॉज इन्फ्लेशन ही अगर 6% बढ़ रही है, तो आरपू कभी ना कभी 4-5% तो एनुअलाइज ग्रोथ दिखाएगा ही. तो अगर भारतीय जैसी कंपनी में, जिसमें लार्ज पार्ट ऑफ कैपेक्स इज ओवर, अगर वहीं आरपू साल का 4-5% ग्रो करता रहा, तो भारती कैन कंटिन्यू टू बी कोविड प्रूफ, ब्लैक स्वान प्रूफ, whatever, over a long period of time, because it's a market leader by a long stretch. Similarly, I think pharma. अब pharma, obviously everyone entered pharma, but हम औरोबिंदो खरीद रहे थे 300, 400, 500 रुपए पे. अब हमें भी डर लगता है औरोबिंदो खरीदते हुए, because Aurobindo is a very large company, reasonably good. Cipla, Aurobindo, Granules, उसमें भी मुझे Aurobindo और Granules थोड़े ज्यादा अच्छे लगते हैं, बिकॉज दोनों का बिजनेस मॉडल हाइपर सिंप्लीफाइड है. ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड दवाइयां नहीं बनाते ये लोग. Anybody who's making a complicated medicine can get into trouble. बट जो क्रोसिन, पैरासिटामोल, कॉम्बी फ्लैम ये सब बना रहे हैं वो कंपनियां विल कंटिन्यू टू डू वेल बिकॉज ये तो दुनिया वाले people will keep consuming these medicines over a long period of time. So Aurobindo for its scale, Granules for its simplicity of its operation. And also I've ended up believing that both the managements are doing reasonably well. They are they make their own mistakes once in a while, but I've been observing these two companies over a long period of time. I find that their products are very simple, very easy to understand. You don't have to yourself become a biochemist to understand whether you need to invest in these companies or not. And we've been investing in both of these, and both of these have done reasonably well for us. So pharma, and of course IT today has become slightly expensive, but I think the frontline IT is still got a long way to go, because today the frontline IT is trading at 17, 18, 19 PE. They are debt free companies, still generating obscene amounts of cash. And God forbid, if a major recession hits US, large part, India will be in fact, tier 1 ITs will be a beneficiary because they have a pricing power. They can undercut the tier 2 companies. They have scale, and they can quickly implement projects at a very, very globally competitive cost because they are what they are over their 25-year existence. So I think the TCSs of the world and the HCLs of the world and the Infosys of the world will continue to do exceedingly well. तो जब जब मौका मिले, most of these companies, they should always be in your watch list if you already have them. जौन सी कंपनी 3-4% किसी दिन मार्केट मेहम में गिरती है, उनको निबल करते रहो. Do not have more than 20-25 stocks. उन्हीं पे रिसर्च करो, उन्हीं से शादी करो, उन्हीं को डेट करो, उन्हीं से मोहब्बत करो, उन्हीं से प्यार करो, उन्हीं के बारे में पढ़ते रहो, so that your conviction keeps becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. और उस 20-25 में से अगर कोई गलती हो जाए तो फटाफट भगवान को सॉरी बोलो, अपने आप को सॉरी बोलो और उससे निकल जाओ. मैंने भी ऐसी गलतियां की हुई हैं और मैं उनसे निकल गया.
So coming to the last question of this session, and the very important one, selling, right? So selling often comes with a regret, and whenever I host any guest, this is the question I always believe in asking. So what strategy and what all criterias you keep for selling your position, and does it keep same, or it has evolved over a period of time? And on the top of that, do you also involve technicals in your sell decisions?
मुझे तो ऑन लाइटर रोड मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है जब मैं कोई चीज खरीदता हूँ वो गिर जाती है, जब बेचता हूँ तो बढ़नी शुरू हो जाती है. बट 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 टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चन इन अ मोर pragmatic manner, Prince, let me tell you, if a stock goes dramatically up, no need to sell it immediately. Start nibbling your profits. And when you start nibbling your profits, you start enjoying your profits also. So if you ask me, okay, has anybody ever mastered the art of selling and buying? I think only God and liars have mastered that art. But if you ask me what I do, if supposing a stock has doubled, I will not sell it at all. I will maybe sell 5% of the entire position of that stock. And just hold it. अब वो और ऊपर बढ़ गया तो in any case you are holding the rest of the 95%. You're already sitting on great profit on that stock. And if you have a conviction on some stock and that stock falls by 5%, I just nibble a little bit more of that stock to add to my conviction and to buy it as long as my conviction has not got diluted. So keep nibbling on the way down as long as you're not nibbling on penny stocks. Keep nibbling on the way up so that you can also enjoy the fruit of your hard work. So there is no set formula. I sell sometimes, I nibble, and sometimes I also within my research team and all I say, यार you know what, ये शेयर बहुत बढ़ गया, थोड़ी सी कुर्बानी देते हैं. कुर्बानी इज व्हेन यू सैक्रिफाइस समथिंग। जैसी मुझे मुझे तो कई बार ऐसा लगता है जैसी मैं अपने किसी विनर की कुर्बानी देता हूं, वो थोड़ा सा और बढ़ जाता है, तो मुझे लगता है चलो यार हमारी कुर्बानी काम आ गई। दिस इज ऑफ कोर्स ऑन अ लाइटर नोट, बट बट यू हैव टू गेट द अंडरलाइंग मैसेज कि इफ समथिंग इज गॉन अप dramatically up, nibble a bit of profit. If it has, if your overall asset allocation is say 10, no more than 10%, and that allocation has become 20% because your stock has become gone 4 times, enjoy your 2%, go for a holiday, go for a very very fancy meal, enjoy life. And that's how you should do. After all, we were taking our life too seriously. हम we start making sense of our life when we are 35. We start getting dramatically old going down the hill when we are 55, 60. So technically we have a window of just 20, 25 years. Why are we taking everything so seriously? Enjoy, make new friends, read new books, travel. अपने हर जुनून को पूरा करो, बिकॉज हम सब की जो जर्नी है वो एक ही जगह पे खत्म होनी है, और वो है ग्रेवयार्ड। और जब इस बात का आभास हम सबको हो जाए कि हम सब ग्रेवयार्ड की तरफ ही जा रहे हैं, तो आई थिंक वील स्टार्ट टेकिंग आवर लाइफ अ बिट मोर इजीली, a bit more lightly. And that's what we must do.
Prince, can I come in for
Please,
two
please
questions?
feel free, sir. So Manu sir, we are good on time, right?
We are very good on time. मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है, just because it's not a two-way communication. I do not know whether the audience is truly appreciating my thoughts and enjoying, but obviously I'm sure there will be a feedback loop of some sort, and I'm very happy with feedback, criticism, appreciation, whatever, so that I can also improve myself. And if I can learn from any one of your feedbacks and life experiences, I'll be very happy. So I do not know कि spaces पे feedback कैसे होगा, but I would love to hear some feedback as well.
The people keeping in these spaces and the count is increasing, that too on a weekend, is a testimony to the interest of our people. And surely, like after Babulal sir, if you guys also have any questions, so feel free to send in a request. Sir would be happy to answer your questions. Yeah, Babulal ji.
Sir, so little bit of criticism first and then about your issues. Yeah.
Absolutely.
About the defense sector, I have a little different perspective than you,
जी,
particularly PSU defense. If you look at the defense supplies, it is not the for number one, the cost of the foreign equipment, defense equipment or defense infrastructure is far too high. Even if we are doing a simply job work at Hindustan Aeronautics buying technology, we have access to technology just because we have a size and we are able to bargain technology.
जी,
And in that space, even though they are PSUs, they have a special space like Mazga. I'm naming the companies: Mazga Dog, Bharat Electronics, Bharat Dynamics, and this Hindustan Aeronautics, Cochin Shipyard.
ठीक है जी।
And in this new world where when we have faced problems with defense supplies from not naming any countries, it was important that we start building some base. So my outlook to defense PSUs, I'm not talking of all the PSUs as a sector, but defense PSU and railway PSU, I have a little different perspective,
जी,
and I am positive on that. On railways also, I am more positive because we have just started increasing our average speed. Though our journey is not as good as Chinese, not even near that, but the first bullet train will be catalyst to bring 10 bullet trains by demand, like Bangalore Chennai, Hyderabad Bangalore, and all that. By grace of God, I have been able to use bullet train many times for my business trips,
जी,
and I find that is a great convenience. Now, I am not advocating bullet trains, but bullet trains will bring the business into India. Even though maybe just technology transfer or whatever it is, but sector would shine because it's a completely deprived sector. We are at
I
41 kilometer speed, and we want to graduate to at least 100 kilometer average speed.
I fully appreciate and honor your recommendation, sir. And I have noted down the names. And tomorrow itself, I promise you, I'm going to buy 100 stocks of these companies and I'm going to start, because वो क्या होगा कि जब मैं buy कर लूंगा ना, तो it will start reflecting. And once it starts reflecting, you start getting all the information. So I would definitely come back to you over the next, maybe after 2 quarters, and would love to learn a little bit more, and would love to be proven wrong there. तो आपने बताया एक भारत डायनेमिक्स है, माझागांव है, और
Cochin Shipyard, Hindustan Aeronautics, and Bharat Electronics. These
ओके,
are the core companies to the defense infrastructure.
लास्ट कौन सा बोला?
Bharat Electronics.
अच्छा, BEL, ठीक है.
And these are core to the requirement. And
Absolutely, sir.
there is also okay, sir. Please go ahead.
I fully respect and honor your recommendation, and would definitely love to read a little bit more, and perhaps have a conversation with you 6 months down the line.
I would love to have a conversation with you on
Absolutely,
this
yeah,
subject.
absolutely, absolutely.
And
देखिए,
sir, there is one more aspect to this: is the availability of spares in critical time. When you have a local manufacturing to what some extent, at least there is a spares stock of the spares to the given short conflict time.
understood.
Another question which is about the bad managements and new generation coming in. The example here I would like to give is Kirloskar Group. The grand old person, Mr. Shantanu Rao, built up company. I am from Pune, so I saw with their great pride these companies coming up, becoming India's top and all that. Then 2 generations there were problems. Now fourth generation have multiplied stock. Most of the Kirloskar companies have multiplied 5 to 20 times or 5 to 15 times. So sometime new generation believes keeping money on their forehead rather than in Almera, which old generation was used to.
Correct.
And to some extent, when I see substance in new generation, for example, Tega Industries, I started believing the company that they have really changed because the new generation is in driving seat and the old generation is completely retired by now.
Which is the company that you talked about, Babulan sir?
Tega Industries and the entire Kirloskar group, entire
Okay.
Kirloskar group. Kirloskar brothers, according to whatever valuations done by my friend, it is even today very cheap. I entered at 550. Kirloskar oil engine I entered at 400. And though the group had no good history, even the family quarrel and promise some many issues, but the new generation is just dedicated to them, the business.
Understood.
So some changes do take place, sir, as the time goes.
100% I agree, sir. 100%. Absolutely, I agree.
And one company which I really identified, I admire that company, is KPIT because their software is approved for ARDS 4 by most respected name in the automobile industry.
करेक्ट. ये जो ईवी वाला थीम है
No,
केपीआईटी का.
this is autonomous driving. KPIT is more on autonomous driving rather than EV. Their software is approved for ARDS 4. And
अच्छा.
that, yeah, ARDS 4 is a 9 times more safer driving system than any human driver.
वाओ, ग्रेट सर. वेल, बहुत अच्छा लगा. एंड आई एम डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू be open to, not only buying all of these tomorrow irrespective of where the market opens, but start reading a lot more about them.
Yeah, sir. So like that, I did like Scient Limited and Scient DLM. The Scient DLM I liked because there was only one line which was very important. They are able to reduce the weight of the aircraft. 1 kg reduction in weight of aircraft saves $1 million in its lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they are expert into that. They have 3D design system, and I would call them as at least second level original innovators.
Great, sir. Great. And for our audience, like these names are purely educational, and Babulal sir and the names taken by Manu sir were there, they have done their due diligence and given time for their investment. So please do not try to copy them. Take the ideas, and if you want to learn about those companies, that's purely up to you. And for financial decisions, please consult your financial
Yes,
advisors.
sir. Yes, sir. They are all.
So
There is a disclaimer. This is only for educational purpose. In most of these companies, I am invested, and this is not an investment advice by any means or by any Sell, hold, or buy.
Thanks, sir. So we got one speaker, Sandeep. Sandeep, you can quickly unmute and ask your question, please.
Good evening, Mr. Manu. Thanks for the insights that you have shared over the last 1 hour. I've been listening to you. I'm pretty new into the F&O space, though I come from a financial services background, more into the marketing and branding side, and I'm completely hooked on to the F&O space. I had a couple of questions here. One is, what's your view on the derivative market when I'm linking it to the banking space? Because from the stock side, you said that it's a strict no-no on the banking side, which means we also go to the NBFC side, which I'm presuming is a no-no from your side. Then how do we look at the F&O space, looking at the current volatility, current global scenario? Is it fine to go with a day trade and move on with the profits that you make, or is it fine to still have a positional call basis the technical analysis that one does? uh, because somewhere my experience says that the fundamental and the technical doesn't work for a trader like me. Stocks, I understand your perspective. As you said, that is what I follow on the stock side on the long term basis. So two questions. One is, what is your view on the F&O space? And secondly, positional calls are good enough in the current scenario, looking at the dynamism across the globe, and with the impact on whether it's a crude oil prices that affects us, and we'll always remain a developing nation for the next few decades, and we are totally linked to what happens in US market. So any views or comments on that side?
So, I'm not a terribly well-informed expert on derivatives, even though within our company, we have a very large F&O derivative position and a trade desk that we do, and we have got experts doing that. And of course, the team is led by me. So I understand the space. But my only advice to anybody is that do derivatives if tomorrow morning you wake up and the market is opens on a down circuit, and your positions will not be annihilated at all sorts of obnoxious prices, and the market gets jammed that you can't exit, which means an infinite loss. If overall your derivative position is hedged enough in a manner, and you've got a counter position, either if you're long stocks then you're short index, or if you're short index you're long, if you're short stocks you're long index, if you're generally hedged one against the other and are able to enjoy the basic premise of theta decay. You see, an irrational movement in markets giving you a supernormal return is again luck. But I think derivatives can't be used to as an investment engine. Derivatives can be used to earn a very, very consistent small income month on month, where the transference of wealth is happens from a gambler to a casino. So you have to decide, sir. And I think after speaking to you, I realize that you are an expert in derivatives, and perhaps a better expert than me. So my advice, or my submission, not advice, but my submission is that if you're enjoying theta decay month on month, while being cognizant that one day we'll wake up and market could be on a down circuit, because market is rarely on an up circuit hoga once in 40 years, down circuit hoga once every 7 8 years. If you're positioned to manage that, I think derivatives are slightly underappreciated instruments, because at the end of the day, what is stock market? Stock market is the transference of wealth, as Warren Buffett says, from the impatient to the patient. So when the transference of wealth happens from the impatient to the patient, you have to keep extracting a little bit of income every month from the market, from the gamblers, if you are a casino. And casino always wins and gambler always loses. So I think that's how I look at derivatives. And we've had, I would say, reasonable success over the last 4 5 years in our small derivative position that we have, not for our clients, but for a small AIF that we have for our friends and family. But, but, uh, but yeah, if you are not positioned well, if you don't truly understand, you can be wiped out, and the probability of getting wiped out might be once in 8 years, but it can happen tomorrow morning. It can happen. I mean, of course, tomorrow morning is not going to happen, but it can happen any day. If God forbid, Kim Jong, what's his name? He throws a nuclear weapon somewhere. If somebody provokes Putin, if America, to save its dollar, America will create a third world war, and I would love to be wrong here. America is the only country that needs a third world war to protect and get rid of their debt and to protect their dollar. So if tomorrow morning we wake up to a situation that we can't truly fathom, and if we are positioned well, then do derivatives, otherwise better to stay out of it. But if you understand all of this, then there is no more powerful instrument than to create an alpha on your underlying portfolio using the power of derivatives, because derivatives is nothing. Month on month, the gamblers come and pay their fees to the casino. And if you can be the casino, you're the best positioned business, because derivatives is not investment, derivatives is a business. You're the best positioned businessman on the planet.
Sandeep,
Thank you so much.
yeah, any follow up, or you got your answer?
No, probably I might tweet and share with him or ask him separately. Or can I put this across in the common forum as to how do I reach out to your team? What's the way forward? Can I
Yeah,
separately message you?
absolutely, sir. Anytime, just DM me or DM our companies, whatever. I mean, I'll be happy to connect, sir.
Yeah.
Pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandeep. So Narendra Singh Jalaji. So you can unmute and ask your question. Are you there, Narendra ji? I think he's sent by mistake or maybe unable to unmute. So Manu sir, I think we holistically covered all the aspect which I had in my mind, and you greatly answered with great honesty and simplicity, and we hope it added great value to our audience. Thank you so much for that. Any concluding remarks on your part, sir?
देखिए, the starting what you call thing of this entire thing was principles of wealth creation. As a closing piece of not advice, but as a closing piece of personal experience or sharing, I would say, we all must also, as human beings, truly understand what wealth is. Whether wealth is a few extra zeros in your bank account, or wealth is something more than just money. Because a lot of us, I think, mistake wealth for money. Money is very important in life, because if you have money, you can change your society around you. You can change a few lives around you. Don't try and change the world. Don't try and become Mahatma Gandhi. Try and become a good human being by doing a little extra for your drivers, by doing a little extra for your maids, by doing a little extra for the security guards in your complex, by doing a little extra for the gardeners in your complex. I think if you can just start making incremental difference using your money to change a few lives, that's how you become wealthy. And that's what I try and believe in. And in my personal opinion, if we have reached a stage and age of life where our roti kapda makan is generally sorted. You see, everyone's got a different opinion of a roti kapda makan. Very recently, I was in a Diwali party, And one guy was so terribly upset, I can't begin to tell you. And what was he upset about? He was upset, yaar, I am 100 short. तो मैं बड़ा अचंभित हुआ कि ही इज 100 शॉर्ट ऑफ व्हाट. मुझे लगा यार 100 लाख शॉर्ट होगा. He was telling me I'm 100 million short of a billion. And that guy was the unhappiest guy in that Diwali party. मैंने कहा यार तू आदमी है क्या है, घनचक्कर है कि how can you be so unhappy that you are 100 million short of a billion and you seem to be the most miserable guy not enjoying the party at all. So I think we all have to define what we truly need in life, as long as we truly acknowledge and appreciate that we have got a very limited runway and a very limited life. So money is important, but money cannot form more than 20% of your wealth. And I think the rest of the 80% of the wealth should comprise of good relationships. How many friends are truly going to stand by you even when you have a knife in your hand with blood on it? Ask yourself a question. If if there are people who stand by you even when you know that you've committed a crime, those are your friends. Rest are all friends either for a reason or for a season. I think the next measurement of wealth is how many times can you say no to anything and everything around you, whether an investment opportunity or an invitation to an evening or a FOMO factor for something. Ability to say no, that I don't because I want to spend time with my daughter. I think that's wealth. How many of you are confidently working towards living to 100? I suggest all of you must watch a Netflix series that's that's on Blue Zones on the Planet, which is Living to 100. It's a great education on how to lead a good, healthy life. I think that is one of the catalysts of being wealthy. How many of us are able to spend enough time on a healthy life? Junjunwala Saab was the wealthiest. I think I consider him more wealthy than even Mr. Ambani. You know why? Because he owned liquid stocks worth 30,000 crores at the time of his death. I don't think that even Mukesh Ambani can sell his Reliance stock worth 36,000 crores overnight, because that would crash the Reliance stock and would shake the stock markets. But because he was a part owner in liquid, I mean, he could generate a cash of 37,000 crores on a T plus 2 without anybody batting an eyelid. I think, and yet he passed away at such an early age because he did not worry about his health. So, was he wealthy? I think the answer is no. And I have known him personally for 10, 12 years because of some investments that he did in one of the companies that I worked for. So he's a great guy, great human being, great investor, great everything. But he died a poor man. I don't think he died a wealthy man. He died a very rich man, but he did not die a wealthy man. Ability to be able to read a book when you want, ability to immediately book a ticket to visit your Masi whom you have not met for years, or your Chacha or your Tayaji whom you have not met for years, because you just want to go and relive the time that when you were a 5-year-old kid, you used to go to their house for your summer and winter. अभी तो वो सब जज्बात, वो मोहब्बत, वो सब खत्म हो गया. पर जब वो सब था और वो गर्मियों की छुट्टियों में हम बिताया करते थे किसी मासी के घर, किसी चाचा जी के घर, किसी ताया जी के घर, और वो पूरी की पूरी छुट्टियां हम एंजॉय करते थे. अगर आज कल सुबह आप, इररिस्पेक्टिव की आपकी कौन सी अपॉइंटमेंट है, क्या आप जिंदगी में कर रहे हैं, कितना जरूरी आपको आपका पैसा कमाने के लिए, नॉट वेल्थ कमाने के लिए, पैसा कमाने के लिए कौन सी इंपॉर्टेंट अपॉइंटमेंट है, अगर आप कोई भी अपॉइंटमेंट को कैंसिल करके अपने उन चाचा, मौसा, ताया, कजन, मौसी के पास जाने की क्षमता रखते हैं, तो वो वेल्थ है. अगर आप कल सुबह कोई टिकट बुक करा के इटली या कहीं भी एक हॉलिडे के लिए जाने की क्षमता रखते हैं, तो आई थिंक वो वेल्थ है। अगर आप किसी स्पॉइल्ड रिलेशनशिप को बिना किसी अहंकार के जाके उनको सॉरी बोल के उनके साथ रिलेशनशिप रिपेयर करने की कॉन्फिडेंस रखते हैं और अपने आप को छोटा दर्शित होने में भी गर्व महसूस करते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है वो वेल्थ है। अगर आप किसी भी मीटिंग में आपको करते करते दिन में किसी वजह से नींद आ गई और आप बोल रहे हैं यार बस अब मेरा सोने का समय है, बाकी कल, तो वो वेल्थ है। दैट इज बीइंग वेल्थी। अगर आपका माइंडसेट पॉजिटिव है कि जो होगा अच्छा होगा, हम सब अच्छा करेंगे, हमने सबके साथ अच्छा किया, हमारे साथ भी अच्छा होगा और अच्छा होना ही है, भगवान का दायित्व है कि हमारे साथ अच्छा हो, भगवान का भी हमारे प्रति दायित्व है, तो वो वेल्थ है। और अगर हमारे पास लाइफ में पर्पस है, पर्पस पैसा कमाना नहीं, किसी और जिंदगी को चेंज करना, किसी और जिंदगी को थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस ला पाना, किसी और के जीवन में जीवन को बेहतर बनाना, अगर वो आप में क्षमता है तो वो वेल्थ है। बाकी सब सिर्फ पैसा और मनी है। मुझे नहीं लगता वो वेल्थ कहा जा सकता है उसे। उसके साथ मेरी ओर से सबको शत शत प्रणाम, एंड आई ट्रूली इंजॉयड, बिकॉज जो मैंने बोला बिना सोचे समझे दिल से बोला। अगर मैं मुझे कोई डिस्क्लेमर देना है तो मुझे नहीं मालूम कि कैसे डिस्क्लेमर दिया जाता है, what I have to say. So all disclaimers can be assumed. Everything has been said with a clean heart, with a clean conscience.
ग्रेट सर, ग्रेट नोट टू एंड विथ। और आपने बिल्कुल जीवन का सार बता दिया। एंड आई व्हेन आई हैड अ कॉल विद यू फर्स्ट टाइम, आई रियली liked and admire the positivity and the keenness of you talking to me, the energy, I would say. And seriously, like there are very few people who enjoy all the facets of life with that great positivity and energy. So hats off for that. And truly, like, you added great value, and the things which come straight from our hearts are the best thing one can advise others. Thank you so much for your time. Although we had planned for 1 hour, and see, the conversation are so beautiful that 2 hours appear less for the conversation. So surely look forward to many more sessions as and when time demands, sir. So thank you for taking out time, and great having you today.
Thank you very, very much, Prince. Thank you all. I think a lot of people I see, as I think about 160 people. That's a lot of people. Thank you very much. Sunday evening, family time. I'm truly honored and blessed that I could speak to so many people at on an evening like this. Thank you very much, and enjoy your investing journey. Enjoy your life, and lead a good, meaningful, purposeful life.
Thanks again, sir. And those who joined late, the session is recorded, and I'll be uploading this on my channel so that you guys can revisit at any point in time. And also, if you have any questions or feedback for Manu sir, so surely feel free to DM him. And just in case you are not able to connect with him, so surely you can drop me a message, or you can tag tweet us so that I can pass on the message to sir so that he can reach out. And definitely will try best in our capacity.
Thank you, Prince. Thank you,
Good
everyone,
night,
and
sir.
good
Take care.
night.
And guys, you guys can
Good night.
connect
Bye
with
bye.
us so that you can directly learn from the financial market practitioners and their experiences.